Hello everyone, hope you're having an amazing Monday and welcome to the Reality Bang. I'm RJ Yohann, your host for the session, and thank you for tuning in. That said, if you guys want to contribute to our topics, have anything to say, or just want to give us some feedback, you can reach out to us at 6364 252164. Now let's jump right into today's topic. Say no to drugs. We have three special guests for the show. We have Anne Rachel, we have Mr. Sourav, and we have Mr. Albert PJ, who is the Executive Director at Abhayam. It's indeed a pleasure to have you two on the show, or all three of us on the show. For this edition of the Reality Bang, Anne and I will be asking a few questions to Mr. Albert and Mr. Sourav. So the first question is to Mr. Albert. So how quickly can someone get addicted to drugs, and what are the signs that someone is addicted to drugs?
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor. To answer that question, I would say two things. One is the very first use, you have already made yourself vulnerable to becoming an addict. But it takes 3 months for a person to actually become an addict. In the sense, your body takes that time to make you become a dependent, on the substance that you are on. But the very first dose that you take of the drug or the alcohol or even your smoking causes you to become vulnerable to move into that step of getting into addiction. But it clinically takes 3 months for a person to get addicted.
Okay, so could you just elaborate a little bit more about the smoking part? Because a few of my
So
friends are addicted to smoking and they get addicted like over a month's time. So how does that work?
yeah, so what really happens is, in fact, like I said, the first dose itself, you are actually hooked onto it. It makes
Yeah.
it, it causes you to want it again and again. What really happens at the end of 3 months is your addictive personality takes over. Yeah, that's basically the difference in the two things. But for a person who's smoking, it is one of the, it's the stepping stone to any addiction. It is the cause for most addictions, and cigarettes are easily available. I mean, there's no restrictions on cigarettes, so people don't see that as an addiction. In fact, the way we would look at it is it's one of the most dangerous addictions in terms of the damages it does to your body. I'm not underlining any, in any way, undermining any other addictions, but nicotine is bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
But so the way it is portrayed, that's not how really it is. I mean, it's portrayed as, people don't even accept it as part of the, addictive substance in that sense. That's why it's easily available. Everybody can use it. So from the first dose itself, you are actually addicted. I mean, you are on the way to get into being a full-blown addict, which actually takes 3 months. Yeah. So I hope I made myself clear.
Yeah, that was a very good informative info. So the second question will be asked by Anne.
So my second question is, what brought you to treatment and rehab?
What brought me to treatment and rehab? Okay.
Yes.
Um, when
Or
I
even
was
Mr.
young,
Sourav also can answer the question.
okay, yeah. So when I was young, when I was in school, I started with smoking cigarettes. It started as a rebellion against my dad. My dad, when I was very small, told me we didn't want you, we wanted a girl. And so I was born, and then, he told me that when I was small. So I've grown up feeling that I'm not wanted, that I'm not accepted. And soon this feeling grew up to, I'm not wanted by this world, I'm not accepted. And so I started to do things to find acceptance and, to belong. And I became wild in the process. And when I was in ninth standard in school, my friends posed a challenge to me. The challenge was if I can smoke a cigarette in class when the teacher is there. And I did it. And that became my point of acceptance, or so I thought. My friends lifted me up. They said, Albert, you're the man, you're our leader. And I thought it was the cigarette that gave me the acceptance. And, very soon I graduated, not in studies. I graduated from smoking to alcohol, alcohol to drugs. And even before I knew it, I was what we call a mainline drug addict. I used to inject drugs. And my life really took a bad turn. I got into gang fights. I got into, in and out of jail and so on. And my dad threw me out of home. Lived with friends for a while, and eventually I was on the street. And while I was on the street, one of those days, I saw this friend of mine who used to copy from me. He saw me and he turned and walked away. And that was when I kind of questioned myself and asked, what happened to me? Why am I like this? And something that I learned as a child came back to me, and it was a song that I learned as a child. And the song was, Jesus loves me, this I know. And this song suddenly became real to me. And I prayed my first prayer. I said, God, get me out of this mess. And I remember very clearly that that was the last day I touched drugs. And my life changed overnight. And I know that God touched me because I didn't go through any withdrawals. From somebody like me who was a multiple drug addict, who's been on to, injecting and all, I should have had severe withdrawals. In fact, withdrawals could have even killed me. But I didn't have any withdrawals, and I knew that God touched me. Cutting the story short, and after that, I went into college and I passed out as the best student of the college. Today, I have degrees from places I can't believe. And from there birthed a dream to help people struggling with addictions. And that's why I do what I do. So that is where I come from. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for having me on your show. Firstly, yeah, you can ask me a question.
Uh, yeah, the question was, what brought you to treatment and rehab?
Okay, so what brought me to rehab was my addiction to drugs and just falling into the loophole and trying to fill this void in my heart with something, some substance or alcohol. So it is basically that, trying to fill the void in my heart.
Okay. So both of you, that was a really inspiring story, especially Mr. Albert's story. Coming over to my third question is back to Mr. Albert. So if a person has a strong willpower, can they fight against the addiction of drugs?
Okay. It is the willpower that causes the change, not the
Okay.
rehab. The rehab is only there to support in the process when they fall, that they don't get hurt. That's the role of a rehab. The rehab doesn't do anything else. Now, all the work is done by the individual. It's in the mind. I have to make the decision to get into addiction. I have to make a decision to get out of addiction. And if my willpower is strong and I am part of a good rehab center, I can do it really fast. And that's how it works. So your willpower, your mind, yourself is one of the greatest key to the beginning of change for a person who has any kind of addiction. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Sourav?
Can you please repeat the question again?
Like if a person has a strong willpower, can they fight against the addiction of drugs?
Yeah, I think it's all about our own will. At the end of the day, everybody can help us. The rehab is there to help us like detox ourselves. But at the end of the day, when we're outside, it's about our will and our decision and our choice to like make a change for ourselves.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was very informative. Now, the fourth question will be asked by Anne.
My question is for you, Mr. Sourav.
Yeah.
How has your life been since getting clean and sober?
I think it's been blessed actually. I've been open to more opportunities in life and been able to live a healthier lifestyle and just see, make choices and like go through doors that wouldn't have been open to me if I was still in the same place or going through the same difficulties and struggles.
Nice.
So I like to say I'm blessed, actually.
Okay, what about you, Mr. Albert?
Um, well, the fact that I'm alive is big. Everything else is a bonus. With the kind of things I've done, I should have either died, or maybe still in prison, or maybe still on the street, or maybe mentally ill. But I'm perfectly fine having a beautiful family and living out my dream with all the adventure and fun that life has. I think that's big, really big. Yeah.
Yeah, that was truly inspiring. Now, coming over to my fifth question, both of you all can answer. So, what would life be like if you weren't addicted?
Okay, I think for both of us it would have been sports. We are both footballers. I still play professional football, but it would have been sports definitely. I was a state athlete. I was also in the corporate. I come from a corporate training background. I would have been there. But honestly, I think my life wouldn't have been so adventurous. So I have no regrets in that sense. But if I didn't get addicted, I probably would have been in the corporate, just leading a normal, mediocre life, is what I think.
I
What about you,
think
Mr.
I
Sourav?
would have been more involved in sports because I still play football even now, and I would have played and stuck to it more professionally, and actually had more healthier relationships with my family, and yeah, that's very much it.
Now, Amy will ask the next question.
So this is for Mr. Albert. What would what would your advice be to the youth who are addicted to drugs and who want to come out of drugs?
Okay. Um, First of all, stop immediately. Nothing would happen to you as a young person when you stop. You will struggle definitely for 2 or 3 days, maximum maybe a week. Endure it, go through it, tell yourself it's consequences of lifestyle that you chose. And post that, you'll be perfectly fine. But don't try gradually stopping, it doesn't work. Don't try other alternatives. Like, I'll give you an example. If you are struggling with smoking and you decide to quit smoking, and you're telling yourself, every time I feel like smoking, I will have a bubble gum, it doesn't help, because you're basically substituting another substance which you think is good. There's nothing wrong with bubblegum though, but the attitude of the addictive personality still remains. So
Yeah.
you need to learn to say no and quit overnight, and uh, nothing will happen to you. You will have a bit of a health hassle. You will have withdrawals, but your body can endure it. You can go through it. You will be fine.
Now, speaking about what you just said, now, how has drugs affected your health and mental well-being?
For me, I do have some issues with my memory. Apart from that, I have no problem at all. I lost about 7 years during my right after school, and so I actually went back to college after 7 years. So I'm one of those very privileged, very few who's privileged to have sane, good mental health, good physical health. At this age, if I can still play football, if I can still play volleyball, do a lot of adventurous things, and be able to involve in a work that is so stressful and so intense, I think I'm perfectly fine. But for me, apart from that, nothing else. Yeah, but generally with people who struggle with addictions, and when they quit, there is a lot of health issues that people go through, primarily with their liver and kidney and so on. And well, for me, it has just been a miracle. Yeah.
What about you, Mr. Sourav?
Health-wise, I used to be a long distance runner in school. I used to run like 1500 meters and 800 meters, 400 meters. That was my thing. So I think like health wise, I think it affected my stamina and it was heavy on my lungs. But uh, as far as it comes to mental health, I think it's very delusional when you're on drugs, and it's not when you come back to reality, everything shifted. So it's like you're all of a sudden very shook. You're wondering about how things have changed, and you have to like accept the reality and let go of the delusional reality.
Yeah, once again,
I have another question for you.
Yeah.
go ahead.
What would you tell your peers who are struggling with the same thing that you dealt with, drugs and addiction? What would you
Um,
tell them?
I would tell them to never give up and keep fighting it, and that they can always come out successful, and it's always worth it in the end to come out free of addiction, and that life has so much to offer, and there's so many blessings waiting ahead of us if we can let go of things that are holding us back.
Okay, once again, that was a really good, informative session with both of you. Both of you gave very inspiring stories and
Thank
really good advice. So that said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you, Mr. Sourav, and Rachel, and Mr. Albert for joining the show.
Thank you.
It
Thank
was
you.
indeed a pleasure to have all three of you on the show.
Thank you.
So remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That said, if you guys want to contribute to our topics, have anything to, you know, give us feedback on, you can just reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of your power brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Yohann. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.